Okay, so we're moving on to management reports, and overall management reports, most of them provide you some form of record level data, or they're just very special purpose reports. Um, we have the same date range and output type options as we do with the standard reports. I'm not going to have time to go over all of these, so I would encourage you to explore them on your own. The nice thing about reports is you're pulling data out. You're not changing or messing with your data in any other way, so it's easy to explore. I will say that since we posted a major upgrade at the end of December, which included the ability to add updates for client information, it did mess with a few of these reports. Income sources, one of them, client comprehensive report. And I think that it's just these two, but I wouldn't be surprised if I found something else that's a little off. So just explore with caution is my point. I will go over the client detail information management report because I think that's a commonly used one. And every one of these that I select, the options beneath change up a little bit. In this particular management report, it gives me a lot of flexibility in deciding what data to include in my report. I could check all these columns if I wanted all this information. And I'm not going to go through and check them all because I already have the report run. We have a way to order my records as an option if I wish. And then I have various filters available to me. And this client ID filter could come in handy if you only wanted to look at one or just a certain number of clients. You could type those client IDs in here. You want to make sure you separate them with a comma, and it'll filter for just those clients. I have run this report here, and this is what it produces for me. I have information on each client, their basic demographic information, where they live, and then the services they receive. So Rachel, this is going back to your question. And multiple rows for a client is just representing all the services that person received within the time period. So it gives me a chance to look at a bunch of record level data in one report. Now, another helpful use for this report is sometimes you want to know how many clients did you serve in each town. Let's say you serve a county that has several towns in it, and you want to see the number of clients served by each of those towns. Well, you could run a standard report and filter by county, but it would take you a long time or filter by town, city, town, but it might take you a long time to do that one by one. So this is a faster way. You want a client detail report. In this example, I would only check the geographic boxes. So I'm going to check town, township, county, state, and zip code. And you really only need town. I just like to have the other information there visible for me. And then I will use this order selection section. I'm going to order it by town. So that way it's going to alphabetize my clients and group them by town. And once I generate that, this is the result. So, and I see the applied ordering here. It's grouping all my clients served that do not have any town entered. It was left blank. So I have 13 clients in that grouping. This is a little glitch here. For some reason, it's doubling the number of cases, but I think that's easy to figure out. It's not duplicating clients or other subtotals. But this tells me I have 13 clients with no town entered. I have one client in the town of Addison, one from Aledo, Bloomington, Carbondale, 9 from Chicago, and so forth. So that can come in handy. And then also note the filters. If I wanted to keep it to one particular county, I could do that, or any certain demographic information, I could drill down to my data even deeper. Or even service types, if I only wanted to look at this information for my counseling clients, for example. Okay, so the another management report I wanted to demonstrate is, I will show this one because somebody asked about it. So the income source management report, while there is a glitch with this since we posted the upgrade last year, this does allow you to enter your own annual income ranges, and it does work. That piece works. So if I enter, and this is annual as it states, so I'm going to do very broad income ranges here. I'll just do 0 to 25, 25 to 50, and then I'll do 55 to 100, and then we'll just make that the last one. I can filter by walk-in shelter or transitional housing clients if I wish. And when I generate this, I might have so many things open that it's not working, but I do have one open. Okay, so here's one I ran earlier this morning. The primary income source is showing all zeros when it shouldn't. So that's the glitch we need to fix. But the income ranges, it is counting clients here correctly. So you can come up with your own income range and use that report to get that data. So that is the income management report. I also wanted to go over, oh, I didn't enter a date. That's why wasn't right. Sorry about that, but you did get to see it. Okay, staff client service information is another common one. When I check this report, it gives me 5 columns to choose from. I'm going to select them all for now. And this report has, see these little arrows that point to the left or the right? This allows you to change the sorting order. So if I click this button next to client ID that points to the left, it'll make client ID the first sorting order of my records. And it has some filters available to you. When I run this report, I don't have a date entered, but that's client detail, income. This is what I see. I have a client ID, the staff that provided this service, the type of service, date, and hours. So this is just a nice little summary of all the clients and staff and services they received within a given time frame. The other way this can be helpful is if I uncheck, like let's say you just want to see a summary of what your staff did for a particular time period, and you don't need to see the very detailed records like client IDs. You just want to know among my staff, how many hours of each service type did they provide? Well, in that case, I would uncheck client ID. I would move staff name first. I'm going to keep service name checked. I'm going to uncheck date. I don't need to see every single date. I'm going to leave the hours there. And for report display, rather than seeing it record by record, I just want a summary where it groups these categories so I can see totals. And when I do that, I get this. Not this, this. So this gives me a comprehensive view of all my staff. I can see Angelica did 3 civil legal advocacy contacts for a total of 4.7 hours. And I have this for my entire team. Now, if you have a report and then it's got a funding filter and you think that your funding filter is not picking up the hours and staff or services that it should, the same report has a funding source filter, which can really come in handy for figuring out what the cause of that problem is. So if I type in my VOCA DV services filter, and I just want the report to show the clients and services paid for by the VOCA DV grant, then I come up with something like this. I can see my filter here. I can see, oh, okay, Loretta Bell and Ruth are tied to the VOCA funding filter. But maybe I have another staff that I don't see on here. If I don't see her on here and I know she's VOCA funded, that tells me I need to go to my funding statement and make sure I add that other staff. Or maybe Ruth also does adult group counseling that's funded by VOCA. I don't see adult group counseling linked to Ruth's name here. So that tells me I need to go to my funding statement and make sure Ruth is tied to adult group counseling and that that service is linked to VOCA in some percentage of funding. Okay, I'm going to move on to this report, staff, community, institutional, and group services. And there's really not a lot to select here because by default, this report includes everything that you enter as part of a community or institutional service. You do have filters available to you. Agency can come in handy if you want to see all the different organizations you gave presentations at. Location might come in handy if you want to see all the community services you've done in Chicago or some other town or county. So when I generate this report, I see all my community and institutional group services. It lists the staff first, then the service type, and all the details associated with each record. And then I have subtotals for each of my staff. And you could also filter for staff if you were only interested in a certain team, or service type if you were only interested in systems advocacy work or institutional advocacy, as it's called in InfoNet. Okay, the last management report I want to demo for you. I'm not going to go through all these, but I encourage you to explore. You recall how to enter cancellation and no-shows. That's how you can pull this activity out. Here's your turnaways, other staff activities. If you want to track your own types of work that's not listed in InfoNet, your hotline, media publication, all of these really follow the same model as the report I just demoed. Order of protection. This may be a new tool if you're not aware, but this pulls up any order of protection by either date issued or the OP's expiration date. And so in this example, I ran it by the issue date. No, I'm sorry, not the issue date. That's the expiration date. So this is what I wanted to emphasize most. I'll just go ahead and run this. So if I do it for last calendar year, 2023, by issue date, it's going to give me a list of OPs that were issued in 2023. But you can also run it by date expired. And this can be a helpful follow-up tool, but if you run it by the expiration date, you want to make sure that your end date is a future date. I mean, I guess you don't have to, but this can be a helpful follow-up tool. So if I make the date range, I'm going to say, make this from today through the end of 2024. I'm making a wide range here, but you could run the same report and do it for just the next 2 weeks. It's going to give you a list of all clients who have an OP that's expiring in the next 2 weeks. And that could prompt you to maybe make a phone call or reach out to that person and say, hey, do you know your order is expiring next week? Do you feel safe? Would you like to try renewing it or getting another one? So this report can be a really helpful follow-up tool in those kind of situations. This report is telling me I have somebody in August that has an OP that will expire.